Hello, Group 9. Today's lesson is about controlling risks and hazards at workplace, Unit 5. I will be covering pages 62, 63, and 64. We talked about hazards before. We said that a hazard is something that can cause harm to humans. For example, electricity or chemicals. But what is a risk? A risk is how high or low that particular hazard will actually cause harm to a human. So the chance of it, is it low risk or is it high risk? There are steps we follow to minimize the risk or to make the risk lower here. These are the steps. Got number one, or the first one here is eliminate. Eliminate means to get rid of, to throw away, to remove. Okay. The second step is substitute. Substitute is to replace something with something else that does the same job. Yeah, to minimize the risk. The step after that is modifying systems. Modifying means to keep the same thing, for instance, a machine, to keep it, but to modify it so the risk is lower. The step after that is isolate. Isolate is to put somewhere locked, safe. For instance, keeping dangerous chemicals or high-risk chemicals in a safe place, isolated. The step after that is the use of administrative controls. For example, instead of allowing 100 workers working at the same place at a particular time, to minimize the risk probably would be allowing just 10 workers working at a particular time and rotate it. So 10, then after that, the next 10, and so on, to minimize the risk. And the last step here is the use of PPE, personal protective equipment, as we all know, is really important in minimizing risk. Okay, let's move to the reading section here. Number 2, read and match the expressions with the pictures. Yeah, we've got 3 pictures and 3 expressions here. Let me read out the expressions. Number 1, poisonous chemicals. Number 2, unprotected machinery. Number 3, working at height. I'm gonna do the first one with you, and I will ask you to do the second and the third. And the first one is poisonous chemicals. Which picture here represent chemical or poisonous chemicals? Yeah, picture, the first or the last picture, which is the picture on the right, that represent poisonous chemicals. Can you do number 2 and number 3? When you're done, we'll move to number 3. Read and match the steps. We've got steps here, 1, 2, and 3, with the pictures below. Pictures are on page 63. I'll show you in a minute. So these steps used to manage health and safety at work. So these are the steps we advise all workers to do at work. The first thing is by spotting a hazard. So if you're at work now and you spot a hazard, means you see a hazard, you find out there's a hazard there. Step after that, you would need to assess the risk of it. So that has the risk of it. Is it really high or low? If it's low, it's okay. If it's high, then you move to the step number 3, which is the risk control. Risk control is what we just talked about. If you remember the steps, yeah, eliminate, substitute, and so on. Let's see the 3 pictures. So the 3 pictures I'm going to show you now, we're going to match these 3 steps with the 3 pictures I'm going to show you in a sec. Oops. These are the 3 pictures. So we said the steps are: number 1, spotting a hazard. Which picture here represent spotting a hazard? Yeah, this picture on the right, spotting a hazard. So after spotting a hazard at work, then the second step is for you to assess, to making sure or finding out the risk of it, how high or low the risk of that hazard, which is the second picture here. The first picture, or the picture on the left, is obviously the risk control, is controlling the risk by following the steps we talked about earlier, the beginning of the lesson today. Okay. Right, we'll have 10 minutes break. Then when we come back, we'll continue the lesson on page 63, which is this page. Okay. All right.